marketing agency. Today at mConnexions, we are starting a series of Facebook Lives right here on Facebook to address all of the changes and challenges and concerns surrounding coronavirus and COVID-19. If you are feeling the impact, you are not alone. We are hearing from community members, our clients, our entire global community is feeling the impact of all of the changes being made here in the US due to coronavirus. And so today we're going to start by bringing on one of our clients that is really working hard to help businesses in the area. Nick Aiello of PuroClean of Mid-Michigan joins me now. Nick, thank you so much for taking the time today to talk to all of our viewers here on Facebook. I know you and your team are very busy right now.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us, Julie.
Yeah, I really appreciate you, Nick, coming on to share your expertise and to give us some peace of mind on the cleaning aspect of viruses. So Nick, PuroClean of Mid-Michigan deals with Biohazard Cleanup. So this is something that your team is very familiar with. And even though coronavirus is something new, there are techniques and there are things that you are already aware of and employing with your clients. So I want to start there, Nick. What are you and your team doing right now as it relates to coronavirus?
Sure. So over this past, I'd say 2 weeks, rolling into this upcoming week, we've been meeting with a lot of our larger clients out there, larger buildings, schools specifically, especially with the new governor mandated shutdown of schools until the first week of April. And what we've been doing is just walking everyone through what we would call best practice. A couple of things that we've picked up through some of our connections out there, some top field biochemists, some top field environmentalists that we're working with, is that this virus is a bit unpredictable as far as how long it can live on surfaces. A couple things that we are working on is making sure that everyone is cleaning specifically horizontal surfaces, so desks, tabletops, countertops, especially in high traffic areas. So specifically,
can you talk about that a little bit, Nick? Why horizontal surfaces? What is it about horizontal surfaces that we should focus on?
So from everything that we've learned through our connections, this virus specifically, when it is brought into the air, can rest and live longest upon horizontal surfaces. So what we're less worried about are the walls, the doors, the windows, so on and so forth, but more the horizontal surfaces. So if someone were to sneeze, someone were to cough, that's where it's going to rest the longest. And what we've learned the most about is stainless steel surfaces and plastic surfaces specifically is where the virus can rest and lay dormant the longest.
Okay, interesting. So talk to us a little bit about the products you use, because I know this is very important, talking about the products, and especially because you and I were talking earlier, and you focus on using non-toxic products. But this is something that you've seen that is already, an issue for some businesses or schools even.
Absolutely. With the fear going on out there, everyone is knee-jerk running out to the store and buying anything that is considered a cleaning product, which is great in theory. But we're most concerned about the products that we're putting out there and how they affect people after the fact. Specifically, when you're talking about something like a school or a place where children are going to be hopefully returning to, we want to make sure that what we're using to clean is also non-toxic and non-hazardous to the environment that we're putting it into. So we're focusing on using a non-toxic pesticide that is EPA approved. And the disinfectant that we're using is so clean that you could actually drink it, and it would be a non-factor to your body.
Okay, wow. Okay, really interesting, right? And I know that stores certainly around here have sold out, like you said, of all of those cleaning products, but many of them toxic, and we don't want to trade one problem for another. So really good to hear that you're talking about that. Nick, also, I know your products are all EPA approved, safe products. Can you talk about that at all?
Yeah, so we get guidelines not only from our parent company, PuroClean, the larger company, corporate, but we've been taking a lot of insight from our environmentalist contacts as well as our biochemist contacts. And our goal is to ensure that everything that we use is non-hazardous to to animals, to humans that encounter the space that we've cleaned after the fact.
Okay, really, really important to know. Thank you, Nick, for that. So what are some best practices you can share for those of us at home that are kind of self-isolating as we practice this social distancing? What are some best practices in our own homes that you can talk about?
I mean, sure. I mean, we've heard it now. I feel ad nauseum, the idea of washing our hands, and the idea that we possibly weren't washing our hands beforehand is kind of ironic, but yeah, wash your hands after touching anything, doorknobs especially. I mean, you think about how many people encounter a doorknob throughout the day. Cleaning our surfaces after we eat, after we cook something, after we prepare a meal in the kitchen. One thing that I'm practicing and having my family practice as well is after we go out, we change our clothes when we get home. So the idea that, you go out, you encounter people at a store, at a business, wherever, you put on a clean set of clothes before you go sit down on your couch, you sit down on your bed, you do anything like that, and you make sure everything gets washed properly. So I think that's one thing that we've kind of missed in the news and everything else. But yes, the idea of washing your hands after you use the restroom, after you prepare a meal, I mean, that's something we should be doing, pandemic or not, right?
Right, absolutely. And even, yesterday I was getting the mail and I was thinking, okay, you come inside, you wash your hands, any kind of contact outside of your home, outside of your own surroundings, and just making sure that you're keeping up with that for sure. And that's a great idea, Nick. I hadn't thought of, coming home, showering, washing your clothes, kind of getting rid of anything that might have been in contact with any contaminants. Really, probably best practices anytime, which is something I know that there's been a lot of talk about. We're just not used to here in our country. We haven't seen, something like this before. So it's certainly new for all of us.
100%.
Nick, what are some of the businesses that you're working with? I know part of what your team does is working on planning in advance, so kind of that proactive approach, but also now with the spread of COVID-19 going in and doing the cleanup. So what are some businesses that should really be taking note, perhaps of using professional services instead of their own employees or their own over-the-counter products?
Sure. The businesses we're focusing on right now this week and this upcoming week are what we would call high traffic businesses. I mean, we've seen it all over the news, the grocery stores, the amount of people that are entering the grocery store, preparing for this pandemic and preparing for the fact that they might be stuck at home for a couple weeks. You look at a place like that, I mean, that's got to be a hotbed for spreading this virus. And how quickly can a business that stays open for 24 hours clean and disinfect their establishment properly? Another business we're looking at is the gyms are still open. Mm-hmm. Most gyms, I mean, the gym that I go to regularly, they require that the people using the equipment clean the equipment themselves, with a Lysol rag or a spray or something like that. Which is great in theory, but they should be looking into a service like ours where we can provide a deep cleaning, maybe at night when there's far less traffic. Or I know a lot of businesses that are 24 hours right now are considering closing down for a 3 to 6 hour period in the middle of the night for cleaning. And that's where a company like us could step in and ensure that everything's cleaned from head to toe properly and safely. Churches, banks, those are other businesses that we're looking at. I mean, even in a time like this, people still need to go into their banks and be able to exchange money and cash paychecks and so on and so forth. And you think of something like that, the number of hands that currency changes through and so on and so forth. So Absolutely. High traffic areas are really our focus right now.
Okay. So, and certainly schools, I know you're working with a lot of schools in the area for kind of preventative planning. And now that kids, of course, are out of school in the short term here, going in and doing cleanup before they return. So all of that is really good to know. So do you work with businesses of all sizes, Nick? Are you looking at just large corporations or small businesses as well? What's your focus there?
We can do businesses of all sizes. I mean, historically we've done businesses as small as a singular office to we've done entire office structures with 20, 30 suites. We've worked with a couple school districts thus far. What we're doing as far as these larger scale clients like a school district is we're preparing what's called a disaster relief plan. And what we're able to do is we can come in and we can do a three-dimensional rendering of the entire building, which is pretty cool. If you've ever say visited like a real estate website where they can do a virtual walkthrough of a
virtual
home.
tour. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what we can do with these large scale buildings. So when you're talking about a building that could be, north of 200,000 square feet, we have a three-dimensional rendering, which allows us to know where every HVAC system is, where every nook and cranny is, to ensure that everything is covered, everything is cleaned, and nothing is missed. And that's a service that we're offering to clients right now free of charge, as long as they sit down for a consultation with us.
Excellent. Okay, Nick, what's the best way to get a hold of you to learn more or to schedule a service like that?
So our website is always great. And I believe you're attaching a link to the website to
we'll put that
video.
right in the good point. We'll put that right in this live. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And we have a 24-hour line, which is 517-292-8700. And we can be reached at that number at any hour.
Excellent. Nick, thank you so much for taking time today. Is there anything else that you want to add that we haven't covered that's top of mind? I know you and your team are kind of on the front line, so to speak, of going out there and cleaning spaces. So thank you for the work that you do. But is there anything else that we haven't covered that you want to mention?
I think the most important thing is during a time like this, people need to remember to stay calm. People need to remember to be kind to one another. And when it does come to cleaning, I think in a time like this, it's most important to leave it to the professionals. So if you are concerned or if you're just looking for peace of mind, please give us a call.
Absolutely. Nick, thank you so much. And we'll also put a link to PuroClean of Mid-Michigan's Facebook page. They are offering a lot of resources. We've got over there a PDF, 8 commonly asked questions about cleanup and about the latest related to that. And there's a lot of information on PuroClean's website. So we'll link that here on this live video so that those of you at home can take a look at that. So Nick Aiello of PuroClean of Mid-Michigan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Julie.
So join us all week long right here on mConnexions. We're going to highlight services available and really talk through everything from health and wellness to working from home to talking about the psychology and the mental impact. So many topics to cover, and we have experts lined up all week long for Facebook Live. So join us right here at 3 o'clock Eastern today. In just about an hour and a half, Catherine Trestane will be joining us. Now, she has lived all over the world as a foreign correspondent and focusing on healthcare. And now she is a health and wellness coach. She's going to join us with some information on boosting our immune systems, on talking about diet and sleep, things we hear all the time. But today we're going to focus on coronavirus and especially what we can do with our emotional and mental health as we are at home. Many people with kiddos at home from school, and how we start to adjust with all of these changes going on. So again, thank you for joining us today. Thanks to Nick Aiello from PuroClean of Mid-Michigan for joining us with his insights and expertise. A lot of really great information on what we can do in our homes and how we can call in professionals to help with either our homes or our businesses. So thank you all so much. I will see you back here today at 3 o'clock.